So have you, I mean, it sounds like you guys have at least like opened up GarageBand, so you have some general understanding of what it at least looks like.
I did like the Apple Store.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So obviously when you start up GarageBand, you get this, pop up to create a new project. We do have all these various templates. Because y'all are talking about podcasting, don't even bother. We're just going to go with the empty project. And in general, it's usually just a little bit easier to work with, the empty project because you can set up exactly the way that you need it. So of all these options, obviously the ones that you were going to be focusing on is record using a microphone. Obviously, if you're just doing it on your laptop or whatever, then that's going to default to whatever your internal microphone is on your laptop. We also have USB mics that you can check out to use for this as well.
Actually,
Yes.
so if we were to like reserve the
Audio studio.
audio studio, and we click that one, we just like plug it into our laptop and like.
No, so there's actually a computer in there that's already set up with everything connected.
Oh,
So you'll just record on that, and then once you finish your project or whatever, you'll just like
send it to you.
send it to yourself. Yeah.
It's gonna be like a big file though. Yeah. So
It's not as big as you'd think.
oh, really? Okay.
I mean, you'll probably still have to like drop it into like Google Drive or something like that. Like it probably won't be like a file you can email to yourself.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not going to be crazy.
Yeah.
So this input here is obviously where you select which microphone you have as the input. I do not know what mic is actually connected to this computer. But it looks like I have a stereo mic. And you can tell that because you have this input 1 and 2 option. And so basically this is going to be like left channel, right channel, and then like combined to make stereo. Doesn't really matter because I don't particularly care about what I'm recording here. But if you do like, if you were to say rent out one of our USB mics, this is where you would change to make sure that
The mic is connected.
that the mic is connected and that you have it selected so that you're recording using that and not your laptops, because it will probably still default to your laptop's internal. This I want to hear music or my instrument as I play and record. That's this is for monitoring, and it's really more for like if you are recording music directly into GarageBand.
Yeah.
I find that especially when it comes to recording dialogue or voiceover or podcast type things, I don't like having that on, because what that will do is whatever headphones or actually even your speakers, as you were talking, it will play it, and there's like an ever so slight delay, obviously. And so it's like it's very disorienting to me. So I never turn that on.
It sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah. And not only that, but you can end up with like feedback issues.
Yeah.
If you don't have like headphones plugged in. Let's see, my instrument.
For the microphones, if we were to check out the USB ones, we would just check it out from here. Like,
Yes. Have you ever checked out equipment with us before?
no.
Okay. So we do have a first time borrowers agreement that basically just says, please don't break our equipment. If you do, you're liable for cost of replacement. But aside from that, you like once you sign that, we can just check out equipment to you. You're able to check out equipment for up to 7 days. You can also reserve equipment online. This year we just went live with a new feature where you guys can actually reserve it yourselves in like the library system, and you can reserve up to 1 month in advance.
Oh, wow.
So if you know you have a project and you're going to need equipment and you want to make sure that we have it available, you can reserve it reasonably far out.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, do you know when?
Or right after it's done.
I mean, yeah, because the other option is like you can, like if you know you need it like now, you can actually just come in and check it out. You don't have to reserve the equipment. We do,
It's available.
right? Yeah, if it's available.
You guys have like different types of, like besides the like within the USB mics, like are there different ones available?
So we do have two kinds, basically two brands. We have some Rode ones and we have some like some Blue Yetis. And like I want to say they're pretty comparable. There's like not that much of a difference between the two. I think the reason why we have different kinds is literally just like with COVID and everyone scrambling for mics and webcams, there was just like supply shortages. And so we're like, yeah, these are fine. So we'll buy these instead. But I think we have like 2 of each. And those are typically we have at least 1 or 2 available, so
Mhm.
it's not too big of a deal. But you know, we don't have a huge amount, so like if you guys go and tell your entire class we're doing podcasts that we have these, then like
Oh, they already know.
oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure they know, because Professor Brian like talked about this specifically.
Gotcha.
And like the audio studio as well.
Gotcha. Okay, so we're just gonna go ahead and create. And so that makes our first audio track here. And so as you see, with this little green bar here, this is monitoring it's like this is basically giving you a visualization of how loud the input is, right? It's not recording anything yet, but it is this is showing you that A, it is picking up sound, and B, this is how loud, you know, relatively it is. Obviously this little thing, you can decrease the volume or increase the volume as you need. Typically you'll probably be fine without having to do a whole lot of adjustments with that. And also after this, if we want to go and take a look at the audio studio, I'll show you some of the, because we have an audio interface that everything is wired through. And so I can show you a little bit how that works, because realistically, you're probably going to be doing more changing physical controls than you would be of like changing volume in here, if it's too quiet or whatever.
Wait, so changing the volume controls, what does that do specifically for in terms of like recording the audio?
So this is just going to, I mean, it's as simple as it will increase or decrease volume for this entire track. And that is true of whether or not you're recording directly into this, or if you are bringing in pre-recorded audio into and dropping it into this track. This is basically just going to be a global adjustment for that track.
When audios are like one audio is a lot quieter than like another audio, like the 2 different tracks, is there a way to like equalize it to like make sure like one matches the other?
Yes. So I mean, you can just kind of fiddle with the volume controls to try and bring
By ear, yeah.
Yeah,
Is there a way to do it like
automatically? There is, where is normalization in this? I know how to do this in Audacity. I'm forgetting where they stuck it in GarageBand.
I just do circle.
Yeah. Of course, it's under advanced preferences.
Auto normalize.
Yeah. Well, that actually is not going to help you that much. So in GarageBand, because that's for exporting. But what you're talking about is you want it to be more or less mixed properly, right? And that it like stuff is not too loud or too soft in relation to one another.
Yeah, because we've recorded interviews, and I don't know how our audio, like when we speak, like around the interviews, is going to work either.
Gotcha.
So I want them to match.
Gotcha. I have an idea for that, and I will get there. But first off, we'll just go over sort of what we see here. Up here we have our editors and like the EQ panes. Obviously, all of your playback and recording options up here. So I'm gonna move some info here, which really only matters if you're doing music stuff for the most part. These, I don't know why they decided that these options were automatically checked when you create a new project. But this is a count-in and a metronome. The count-in you might want, basically what it is, it gives you a 4 count before it actually, like when you hit record, it like gives you four beats before it actually starts recording. That can be nice, just to sort of collect yourself and be ready. I don't really care for it, so I usually turn it off. And the metronome is literally just a, ticking at whatever tempo this is, that will play as you're recording. You don't need that for podcasts, yeah. So I turn those off. Over here, the main thing you want to know about is this loop here, is actually their like the GarageBand loop library. So like these are all the just various sound effects and like, like, small like audio loops of whatever instruments. Obviously there's a ton, but like if you need just like some random sound effects or like a little bit of like a short section of music or whatever, you can look through here, and you might find something that suits you. I believe also everything that you have in, if you have like stuff in your iTunes, like songs that you have downloaded in your iTunes, I think they also show up here.
I can download the reality TV sounds. And put them in.
Or sorry, no, they actually the stuff in iTunes actually shows up in the next one over. And this will like drag media from all of the other Apple applications that store all of that stuff.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How did you pull up the loop library?
So it's these two.
Oh, I see it now.
Yeah.
I don't have that third option.
You don't have this one?
No.
You might need to update GarageBand.
I mean, I just downloaded it.
Oh.
That means I
Huh.
just have the older version.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't have it either.
That is weird. I'm not entirely sure why. It's either you have an old version or we have an old version, and I'm not sure which is which. I thought I had just updated this. Let's see. What version are we running? 10.3.2.
Yeah, let's see what version.
That's probably old now that I'm thinking about it.
I have 10.4.4.
Okay. If you click the loop library, do you see like does it look like this, or do you also see extra stuff from your iTunes? Because I wouldn't be surprised if they combined them.
Right now it's downloading stuff from my loop library. Since I just
Oh, okay.
downloaded
Yeah.
it. But
It's like
I
a couple
see
gigabytes worth of loops.
A couple of gigabytes?
Yeah, it's like 3 point some
Uh-oh.
odd gigabytes.
Let me delete stuff from my computer.
I know that struggle. It's the reason why one of the first things to go when I'm clearing off space is the iTunes loop library, because
Oh, really?
it's like,
Okay.
well, it's like 3 to 4 gigabytes worth of
Oh
loops,
my
and I
God.
never open iTunes I never open GarageBand
You're
on my computer because I
Yeah.
don't use it. So I'm just like, I don't need this.
I'm deleting it right after this.
Fair enough. Yet another reason why it's great for you to just come in and work on one of our computers, because then you don't have to worry about.
That's true. I mean, it's good for me to practice the interface like on my own. and
Sure,
then-
sure.
And then we can always work on it here.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
have to start.
And obviously all these computers also have all of the stuff downloaded.
Okay.
So if you want to come and work on your projects on these computers, you can do so.
You don't have to, do you have to reserve the computer?
No. I mean, typically they're more or less a first come first serve thing, right? But like if you're just working on GarageBand, literally any of them work.
Would it be weird if like 4 of us came and like worked on a computer?
No, not really.
Okay, because there's 4 of us in a group, so.
It happens. So as far as recording in GarageBand is concerned,
Mhm.
it's very simple. There's this big red record button,
Okay.
and I click that, and now all of a sudden I am recording in GarageBand. It's very complicated.
Wow.
And you hit stop to stop. I believe you can also hit the record button again to stop. Point is that it is literally that simple to record in GarageBand.
But if I want to upload a file, like an audio file.
Okay, so
You can just drag and drop it.
yeah, so you can just drag and drop. So I'm gonna find some royalty-free music. So you can literally just drag from Finder and drop into the empty space in your project,
Mhm.
and hopefully not wedge your computer like I might have.
I will probably be doing that to my computer.
Okay, so see, and so it will have, if you drag it into, obviously you can drag it into the track you have, but you might want it to be in a separate track. If you just drag and drop it into sort of the empty space, it will create a new track for that. And then you can work with it like you can work with every other kind of clip. It functions the same as your recorded clips or whatever. So you see here that if I hold my mouse over the edge, we see some options. This if I basically click and drag on this bottom section, it will allow me to like shorten the clip. If I click and drag on this top one and I just keep dragging, this will loop it. This will loop it. You're probably not going to use that. I can't imagine podcasting, but good to know that it's there. Shortening it is obviously useful, right? You know, because you're probably going to have stuff at the beginning and or end, you know, as you're like starting and stopping the recording that you're just going to trim off. But that doesn't solve your problem of what if there's something in the middle, like you know, a bunch of ums or a weird pause or whatever that you want to get rid of, which will happen a lot as podcasting goes. So you can position your playhead, which is this line here, wherever you want to make a cut, and say right click, split at playhead, or as you saw there, it's Command T. You have to have the clip selected though. And so now I have cut this into 3 sections. And so now I can move these independently. I could move them into a different track if I wanted to. Not that that's particularly helpful in this case. And you know, you can just delete and you know, move everything back together.
I want to hear how this sounds.
Hmm?
I kind of want to hear how this sounds.
The music is probably going to be very loud compared to.
Why does it sound like the intro to a track?
That's interesting. That feels like
Like a producer tag.
yeah, I mean, that sounded really scuffed, and I'm not entirely sure why. It sounded like iTunes or GarageBand was doing something weird to this particular song, because it sounded very choppy, and I'm not sure why. But obviously, you know, I can drop the volume on this so that I can. I click that, and now it's very complicated. Yeah, so obviously you can do something like that.
Is there a way to like smoothen the transition between both the audio files, like merge it so it's not like choppy?
What do you mean?
Like
It's gonna be choppy regardless.
Yeah,
kind of
it
like
will.
can't blend them, like, you know what I
Not
mean?
really. Basically,
Or like overlap it. Can you overlap the files?
not real. Well, I mean, you could, but in order to do that, what you would do is you would have the files in separate tracks and then just overlap their beginning and end.
Okay.
Because if you try and overlap their beginning and in the same track, it will just, whatever you're dragging on top will just sort of cut the other clip, right? Your best bet for having sort of smooth transitions is to just be a little more cautious with where you make your cuts, right? Find natural pauses in someone's conversation or in their speech, and then, I mean, you can cut like pretty close to where people start and stop speaking, right? And so you just have to like get that timing right, which takes a little bit of work. It's not too bad. But yeah, I mean, obviously this was I think I cut in while at like mid sentence. So yeah, this is obviously not a great example of that. But the other thing is, even though I have cut this track, I can still drag it back out to its full length. There's basically no such thing as destructive editing in GarageBand.
Oh, wow.
Or, well, I don't know if that's entirely true, but for the most part, you can undo you can undo cuts to a clip very easily in GarageBand. Because basically all of these, each of these segments is still counts as the entire clip. It's basically just a selection of, you know, a specific selection of that clip. So obviously, as I said, you can, you know, just lower the volume up here. Something you might want to do instead of that, and this is probably just going to be nice for you guys to know in general for podcasting, is something called automation. So if I hit A on the keyboard, I get this, everything kind of goes dark. And if I select a clip, you'll see that we have this yellow line here. We see here that is referring to the volume. And so what I can do is I can place points along this, and then I can move this bar, or this level, the level of the volume around. And so now what it's going to do is, when I click that, and now. So I mean, the audio track itself seems still very scuffed, but the point is now it's fading in, and you can basically have it set up so that your music or your dialogue or whatever will sort of fade up or fade down in volume as you need, right? Like between sections of your podcast, you might want the music to increase in volume a little bit and then come back down when speaking starts again, right? Think like NPR talk show type thing, right?
Yes.
So this is the way that you would do that, and it's very simple. Again, you just hit A, and if you hit A again, you leave the automation menu. So it just toggles back and forth. And yeah, you can just place points anywhere on the line, move it around, do funky things. If you see here, if I click this drop down menu, you have a whole bunch of options for things that you can sort of dynamically adjust like this with automation. I don't know that you're really going to be doing much of any of these aside from volume, because I mean, I don't know.
Wait, how did you get the drop down?
Oh, so you see, there's the,
Oh,
yeah.
What is pan?
So pan is whether it's, you know how when you're listening to something on your headphones, sometimes you hear things mostly in like one ear or the other.
Yeah.
That's what pan is. So you can sort of send it to either the left or right channel.
I love it when music does that.
yeah.
So you could do that, and you could have it sort of go back and forth.
With our voices.
Well, I mean, you could do the whole thing where you have like one person talking in one ear and the other person talking
I
in the
would
other.
literally cry if someone put that in a podcast.
But and so that's actually another point. You see this dial here. This is the pan dial. So I mean, I could send this to the left track or the right track just by doing this. The only reason why you would do it with automation is if you actually plan on it, changing over the course of the track, right? Otherwise, you can just use this sort of static adjustment that is this pan knob. Oh, the other things on this track here. Obviously, this mutes the track. This solos the track, which means that you are only like when you hit playback, it mutes all other tracks and you only hear this track. So it's mute versus mute others. And then this one is monitoring. So that whole, I would like to hear my instrument while I play. That's what this button does, basically. It just turns that on.
Okay. What's the first one?
Mute.
Okay, and then the second one mutes all others.
Yeah, so you'll see, or let me get out of this so it's a little easier to see. So this one grays out this track is now muted. So if I play it back, it's just going to play when I click that, and now it's just going to play the first track. If I hit this,
Oh, it does sound well.
yeah, it sounds like it's like playing it at the wrong sample rate. I'm not entirely sure why it does that. Garageband is weird sometimes. Or maybe I corrupted the file, one or the other.
I have a question.
Sure.
So you talked about being precise with the clipping. Is there a way to like zoom in and then look at like kind of each individual audio thing?
Yeah.
Audio line.
So this slider here changes sort of the scale of your view. So I mean, you can zoom in
Where's the slider?
up in the top corner.
I cannot find it. Okay.
I mean, yeah, it's very small, but it's up in the top corner underneath the loop library and all of that. And so obviously we have this these controls and equalizer and whatnot. You're probably not going to be playing around with that too much. I mean, like especially if you're recording in here, it's going to be fine and you're not going to have to really play around with it. If you have like subpar audio quality for some of your recordings and whatnot, you might be able to make some adjustments with it to, just like if somebody, if somebody sounds too tinny in the recording, you can maybe roll off the high end, the highs a little bit just to sort of make it not so shrill, stuff like that. Low cut can be useful if you have like, sort of like a persistent low rumble or whatever, from, I don't know, something. So let's see, what other things? Oh, so one thing that you will need to know if you are going to come in and record with our setup here and are trying to record multiple tracks simultaneously, is if like standard when you open GarageBand and you're recording in GarageBand, when you hit the record button, you're recording in whatever track is selected. So you see I have the top track selected. If I hit record, it will record in, God, that sounds terrible. It will record in that track.
Yeah.
If I select this, it will record in this track, vice versa, right? The way to get it to record multiple tracks simultaneously is go to track configure track header, and then see this record enable button. We're going to click that, and now we have this red dot. If I click these, oh, it's probably because they're the same audio input, aren't they? Yeah. Whoops. This is the issue of trying to show this in a computer that does not have multiple microphones connected. Well, if you're recording, if you're like sitting in there and recording two people simultaneously with different mics.
Like let's say we're having a conversation on the podcast.
I see.
So like if you are going to use the audio studio for that, then like you are probably going to be using this. But basically what it is you have these this red dot that shows up here on your tracks, and you will just click the red dot on all the tracks that you want to record. And obviously that's just whichever tracks are attached to whatever audio inputs that you're trying to use. And then when you hit record, all of those blinking lights will go solid, and it will record simultaneously in all of those tracks.
All right, can you show where you got the configure?
Yeah, so it's under track, then configure track header.
And then you just clicked on the red buttons. I would like the.
Yeah, you tricked it. So if I pull it back up.
Recording.
Yeah, and so you just click on the red buttons on all the tracks that you want to be recording, and then and they'll be blinking, and anyone that has a blinking one, when you hit record, it will record into that track based on whatever input you have it set up to record.
And then how do I know which mic is attached to which track?
I will need to double check because things got a little weird over COVID. Because we're moving mics around, but it should be that the mics that are numbered 1, 2, 3, and 4, they should be connected to inputs 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Okay.
Although I mean it'll be relatively easy to tell if you say feed from input 4 and you're talking into mic 4, and well, you'll probably still get like a little bit of like some bar showing up that it's picking up sound because all the mics are still in the same room. But like if it seems really low, then it's probably actually one of the other mics. But I will double check to make sure that that is set up properly in there. During COVID, we had it set up so that we only had one mic in there, and we were like rotating through the mics and like disinfecting them. So I cannot guarantee that as of right now they are set up in the right slots, but they will be. So any questions so far? Anything? No? Okay. I think probably the last real thing that you guys need to know is like once you are happy with your project, what do you do to get a actual audio file from it, right? Because if you hit Command S, that just saves the project. That saves the GarageBand project, which is also a good thing that you probably should do. But that doesn't really get you the final So for whatever reason, Apple decided that export is like, yeah, they decided to stick everything under share, despite the fact that that's not A, something that other media editing applications have, or B, the terminology they use. But we'll just say export song to disk. And then you can save it as whatever you want, choose your location. Your professor might have some, might have actual parameters that they want, that like set parameters that they want as far as like the audio files.
No, I don't know.
She might not. So the only two that you're really going to like really be choosing between is either MP3 or WAV. MP3 is a compressed file format. Honestly, for what you're doing, it's probably fine. If she wants to have like, you know, the highest quality, you know, copies to save for posterity's sake, then saving it as a WAV, which is an uncompressed file format, will give you the best quality. I mean, I obviously can go up to 24-bit, which I think is ludicrously overkill for podcasts, but sure.
So go 18-bit is okay.
I mean,
16-bit. Okay.
I think either one is fine, really. I would be shocked if she's asking you to save them as WAV files. She'll probably be happy with an MP3.
Yeah.
Because the other issue is that when you're saving uncompressed audio files, you're expressing some concerns about file size. The waves are going to be much larger. So once you're happy with your settings or whatever, you know, just go ahead and hit export. And I guess I already probably did, huh? I mean, this is like, I don't know, all of 30 seconds, or however long this thing is. Yeah, and so we'll just save to wherever you have it set. Depending on how long your podcasts are, it might actually take a little while for it to export, just because, you know, if you're exporting like a 45-minute long conversation, it'll take a little while.
Only like 12 to 20 minutes.
Oh, okay, that's not too bad. But I mean, it still might take like a couple minutes, but it's not going to be like crazy. Yeah. But yeah, so that's, I think, the majority of things that I can think about that you guys might want to know as far as recording podcasts in GarageBand. Do you have any other questions? Things that you think you might need to know how to do?